Good morning, everybody. Please remain seated for the invocation. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, as we gather here on this beautiful and festive day, we ask your blessing on our Boston College community, especially our law school graduates of the class of 2020. We also ask your blessing on all of us, their families and friends. We give you thanks for their many achievements while they were students here, and we ask you to bless them with your love and guidance as they continue to move on to lives of service in the legal profession. We are mindful that you call all of us to be instruments of justice. In sacred scripture, we hear your prophet Amos cry out, "Let justice roll down like a river, and righteousness like a never-failing stream." And we are challenged by the call of your prophet Isaiah to release those bound unjustly, to untie the thongs of the yoke, to set free the oppressed, breaking every yoke, to share our bread with the hungry, to shelter the oppressed and the homeless, to clothe the naked when we see them, and to refuse to turn our backs on our own. We know that you call us to do justice in the world, and we ask you to bless us as we undertake that task. May you inspire us all, Lord, to be worthy stewards of your creation and to respect your divine image that is present in us all by heeding your call to love our neighbors and ourselves and to do justice in our world. And finally, we ask your blessing upon all who have worked so hard to make this festive event possible. We ask you this in confidence, for you are the God who made us, you are the God who saves us, you are the God who sanctifies us each and every day. Amen. And at this time, it is my privilege to introduce to you the current president of the College of the Holy Cross and former dean of BC Law School, Vincent Rougeau.
Thank you, Father Fred. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, and I'm so very, very honored to be with you this morning. Distinguished guests, friends, graduates, and their families, welcome to our Class of 2020 celebration. Last spring, I opened my commencement remarks to the Class of 2021 by saying it was an unusual moment for us all. It was the first time in over a year that we had gathered a crowd of that size in person. And the last time I would address the BC Law community, one of my last acts as dean, before assuming my new role as president of the College of the Holy Cross. An ending of sorts, both for them and for me. But I was wrong. Members of the class of 2020, this has been a long time coming. I'm here today to take care of some unfinished business. I've come here along with so many of your friends and families to stand up and applaud you, and to celebrate our only class in recent memory that did not get the chance to cross the commencement stage as newly minted JD graduates. Old friends, familiar faces, it is so good to see you all. You are unique in our history, and we share a special bond. You had to learn in real time how to manage your education and your lives as the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the world. We learned together. Faculty and students finding ways to connect remotely, coming together to support one another in every possible way. So many of you had to manage feelings of isolation and illnesses and the deaths of family and friends. As millions of lives were lost around the world, we mourned together. But that wasn't all, was it? We have all been wounded in ways large and small. We've witnessed a continued fracturing of our society as political and social divides have deepened. We saw unthinkable violence and hate as the racism that affects this country boiled to the surface. We saw people of color assaulted and killed by members of our police forces, those who had been sworn to protect all Americans. Last January, we witnessed an assault on our democracy at our nation's capital, even as COVID deaths surpassed 350,000 in the United States. Today, that number has reached nearly 800,000 and a nearly unimaginable 5 million worldwide. Through all this, though, fresh out of law school and facing tremendous adversity, you built your lives. You began your careers, mostly in front of computer screens. Some of you started families. Many of you faced significant setbacks. These steps present new challenges, new opportunities, and new ways to grow. Your lived experiences become a part of the fabric of your lives. Now, we must acknowledge that some wounds are harder to heal. And even when they do, the scar remains. Scars are reminders of past trauma, of things that should be remembered, but not forgotten. Those scars inform the decisions you make in your lives and your careers. They give you wisdom. They make you unique. As Maya Angelou once wrote, quote, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refused to be reduced by it." You have been wounded in different ways, but you have not been reduced. At some point in commencement speeches, I usually remind our graduates of what we have taught them, how to read a case, how to reason and write and advocate for their clients, the importance of ethical and just application of the law, the power of a law degree to effect change. I ask them to become useful members of society focused on the common good as they begin their careers, to be champions of truth. I urge them to focus on what brings them joy and what truly fulfills them. But you have already begun your careers. You are already fulfilling that promise. And so I simply ask you to remember what brought you to the law in the first place, and remember what drives you forward. As writer and civil rights activist Audre Lorde said, quote, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid," unquote. And so here we are, back together again, if only for today. We can't alter the past. We can't go back to May 2020 and start over. But sometimes we get the chance to do something to make amends. We can choose to celebrate our victories, to stand up off the floor and try again, to persevere, to thrive, even as we recognize how we have changed. Now, today may seem like a small thing to some, but crossing this stage is a powerful symbol. Today, we can stand together and complete this piece of unfinished business and celebrate your many achievements. You have learned from the trauma you have gone through, and you are not afraid. We see this resilience, strength, and change in you, in serving your clients with integrity, in law firms, in business, government, and nonprofits. The problems the world faces are significant, and they require leaders who are willing to challenge themselves and others to think differently about solutions. These problems require bridge builders, communicators, visionaries, people who can act both with compassion and conviction. The world needs people like you. Congratulations, class of 2020. All of us here today are so very proud of you, and we cannot wait to see what you will do next. Thank you. It's now my great pleasure to welcome Interim Dean Diane Ring to the podium to offer her remarks. Diane?
Good morning. It is my honor to come before you today, having served as your Associate Dean of Faculty during your 3 years of law school. And now, a bit past the original date, on behalf of the faculty of the law school, I extend to you warm greetings, best wishes, and congratulations from all of us who have been your teachers here during law school. The graduation celebration offers us the opportunity to collectively celebrate your hard work, your dedication, and your future, a future on which you have already begun to embark. And what would a faculty greeting be without some bit of additional guidance or advice for the future? Certainly, if we were back in May of 2020, I would have been unable to resist. On the one hand, there is so much to say, so much advice that we, as faculty, might wish to offer to help launch you on your path as lawyers and as members of the legal community. But on the other hand, I thought I might focus on offering one piece of advice this morning, one that you can consider against the backdrop of your 17 months since the end of law school. And that is to encourage you to take what you have learned and implement it in your unique end to law school and the launching of your professional career in the midst of the pandemic. The capacity to be flexible while keeping your eye on your key goals. And carry that knowledge that you can do this forward into your careers and your life. I certainly hope that your futures do not demand so much flexibility in such a short window as they have as you finished law school, studied for and took the bar, and began your career. But if you take a moment to reflect on what flexibility means and what it represents, I believe you can see it as a way, as a tool to embrace, balance, and navigate that which awaits you in life. I use the term flexibility specifically. There are related ideas, such as resilience, that Dean Rougeau mentioned, but I think flexibility captures something distinct. First, it implies there are those things about which you might be flexible and those which you would not. Right? Determining where that line is can help you distinguish between those beliefs, ideas, and goals that are the core of who you are and what you want to do in life, and separate them from the paths that you might take to get there. Second, it captures the idea of how to handle the unexpected, the approach that you can bring to those circumstances that have the potential to significantly shift your course. As a student, you took your final exams remotely and then prepared for a bar exam under most unusual circumstances. Many of you may have had delayed starts to work or begun work remotely. This was likely not part of your plan. However, you were able to be flexible in completing your education and joining the profession. Certainly, for some of you, the challenges and disruptions this entailed were significant, and in some cases, deeply painful. But all of you have figured out how to find and exercise the flexibility necessary and appropriate to staying on your course. You have done it once, you can do it again. As a member of society in the legal profession, you can see this idea of flexibility in the need and the value of asking yourself that deeper question. Which are those things about which I should be flexible? And which are those, again, which are the heart of my vision of a good person, society, life, and path? If and when we are asked, pushed, or forced to engage in change, should we respond with flexibility? Here we need to consider whether our resistance reflects a principled objection or simply the reflex of habit, security, and the expected. The idea of flexibility cannot answer the question, but asking whether this is something about which we should intentionally reject flexibility may help guide us in answering it. Thus, I encourage you all to continue to exercise and examine your capacity for flexibility as you go forward. With that, I once again would like to congratulate all of you on behalf of all of your BC Law faculty.
And now I'm very pleased to introduce today's keynote speaker. Professor Judith A. Mcmurrow served as the Associate Dean of Experiential Learning and Global Engagement at BC Law from the 2018-2019 academic year through the 2020-21 academic year. She teaches torts, professional responsibility, and in the law school semester and in practice externship program, Her scholarship is primarily in the area of professional responsibility and legal ethics. Professor Mcmurrow is active in pro bono and service activities, including over 20 years on the board of the Community Legal Services and Counseling Center, 10 years on the Massachusetts SJC Committee on Judicial Ethics, work with the ABA Center for Professional Responsibility, and earlier work in representing women in Massachusetts seeking commutation based on battered women's syndrome. After graduating from the University of Notre Dame Law School in 1980, Professor Mcmurrow clerked for the Honorable Gilbert S. Merritt on the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit and Chief Justice Warren E. Burger of the United States Supreme Court. She practiced with the Washington, D.C. law firm of Steptoe and Johnson before entering teaching in 1985. Please welcome Professor Judy Mcmurrow.
Thank you. I am deeply honored to speak to you today. And I must say it's probably the biggest honor of my 36 years of teaching. I tortured some of you, and many of you were kind to me as I embarked on my one and only time of teaching contracts when they had a need. I know firsthand you are a special class. You deserve something new or unique in a talk, but let's be realistic. My husband Rick asked me if I remembered who spoke at my law school graduation. I did remember the speaker, but not a single word of what he said. Now, that suggests to me, okay, go with some core ideas. We could focus on concepts like, know thyself, for the unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates was the first to teach us that, and the Jesuits bring it into modern world through the concept of discernment. You commit to reflection. Or we could try do good and avoid evil. That's a good one. Excellent motto for a talk. St. Thomas Aquinas taught us that. Who knew great philosophers could speak in memes, right? But instead of these important and powerful themes, I thought it would be worth discussing themes about your legal lives so far, you the class of 2020, and it has been beautifully previewed by President Rougeau and Dean Ring. On the hope that this might be more memorable, I've titled this, Embracing the NRA. And embracing nimbleness, resilience, and acting for the good. So embracing the NRA, nimbleness, think back. I pulled out my 2017 calendar, I'm a hoarder, and on Monday, it was marked, first day of class, Monday, August 28th, 2017. You walked into Boston College Law School for your first class. Now, of course, some of you are here, you transferred, having done a first year elsewhere, but the same ideas apply. You were excited, you were nervous, perhaps unsure about whether the law was right for you. Now, as already indicated, the world was not a calm place when you started in August 2017. It was not a calm place when you left in 2020, and it's no calmer today. On August 2017, those of you from the South were likely monitoring Hurricane Harvey, right? Carefully watching as it barreled toward Houston, bringing unprecedented flooding, worried about your families. Fallout was still occurring from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, pushing the ongoing and struggling national conversation about race that would explode as you left law school. On the very day, August 28th, you started law school, President Trump lifted the ban on selling military equipment to the police. Did you notice? I didn't. You likely didn't notice because you were embarking on a journey of legal education. Social and political forces were swirling around you, but the intensity of law school tended to push those issues to a second tier, at least at the beginning as you focused on your studies. You didn't ignore those issues, but you put action on hold for the short term. We all have to triage, right? Now, beginning that day, your class would come to epitomize one of the central features of the U.S. legal profession and the first principle of embracing the NRA, nimbleness. Now, in his History of American Law, Lawrence Friedman devotes a full chapter to the legal profession and makes a powerful case that the U.S. legal profession has truly earned the name, the nimble profession. It didn't start with you, okay? Early lawyers used their modest legal literacy to help in the colonies. The barber might also handle land sales and contracts. Many lawyers serve dual functions, if you ever look at the signers of the Declaration of Independence. When legal education moved from an apprenticeship model into universities, the legal profession had to, the emerging profession had to adapt as it became more knowledge-based. Now, meanwhile, the volume of law began to accelerate, and lawyers were needed to assist in an increasing population and the growth of business and social activities. We saw an increasingly global and regulated world, which was actually becoming smaller as it grew. Global migration created a host of new issues in the law. Continuing inequality, both economic and social, made public interest work a source of great need. And antiquated legal doctrines made law reform in a wide range of fields a top priority. Think of the new areas of law that have emerged just in the last 10 to 20 years. Cybersecurity, cryptocurrencies, representing marijuana dispensaries, creative lending structures that we hadn't thought about a few years ago, and obviously realms of privacy issues that are arising now that we knew might be coming 10 years ago, but hadn't yet confronted. But the public sector is also rethinking major paradigm shifts as they rethink prostitution and drug use and delinquency as public health and victim crimes. You jumped into this swirling river in 2017, and perhaps without even knowing it, you embraced, or were forced to embrace, a nimble approach to law and your place in it. Now, you were nimble, in fact, in several distinct ways. First, without even realizing it, you adapted quickly to our rapidly changing legal practice settings. Now, law firms are, of course, important. Many of you are working for law firms. But the billable hour is no longer the sole way to value legal services. Large firms are very important for particular kinds of work that need large SWAT team approaches. But lots of really fascinating legal work has bubbled up very evenly, well, not evenly necessarily, but bubbled up across so many legal settings. Many small firms specialize in representing emergent enterprises. We are seeing the growth of public interest law firms. In-house departments have grown significantly since the mid-2000s as larger enterprises realize that they could cover a lot of their own legal needs on a more cost-effective way. 15 years ago, it was very rare that a student would go right from law school to in-house. Now it isn't rare at all. You have learned and jumped in. You are the modern lawyer. You are, class of 20, the entrepreneurial lawyer. You are nimble in keeping an open mind to the range of practice settings. Those very same forces that have pushed law into every realm, we got a lot of law, right? With lawyers are needed in all of these settings. Graduates are going not just to law firms, you know it, you see it, you experience it. You're going, or you might end up in consulting firms, accounting firms. You might go in-house in a compliance or human resource departments, along with all the traditional positions in government and public interests. This is not an accident. As Professor Mary Bilder has written so beautifully, early lawyers in the Republic brought, albeit sketchy, legal literacy to the frontier, the building of legal literacy. We are now living in a very law-thickened world, laws everywhere, and lawyers are needed to bring their legal literacy out into the daily lives of businesses, nonprofits, people, government, all in settings outside the legal department setting. So you have new opportunities now, a world that needs you, not just in traditional lawyering settings, but in a wide range. You're also nimble in gravitating toward the increasingly interdisciplinary practice of law, representing family and children with complex needs, education law, criminal prosecution and defense, business planning, all require broad perspective. Core legal skills are essential, but legal skills in context have made you particularly nimble and helpful in your work setting. And finally, of course, we get to it. You were forced to be nimble to adapt to the consequences of COVID-19. Spring of your third year, your classes moved online with a week's notice. All those glorious plans for graduation week, remember the Red Sox game? Didn't happen. The picnic, no free food. The ball, got it last night. The awards ceremony, and finally, the delayed but not denied graduation. You had to scramble to adapt to the changes in the bar administration. Some of you had to adapt to having a job disappear, and most of you started working online. Of course, I'm only talking about this as the parts of your professional life. In your personal life, most people know somebody who was deeply, profoundly affected by COVID, and you had that journey as well. Now, I know from chatting with some folks that the stress was high, relieved a little bit by the reality that it wasn't personal. Others were experiencing it. But appreciate the traditional outlets during bar study. How about dinner and drinks with friends? Not available, right? But you are the nimble lawyer. That nimbleness with which you adapted carried you through. Now, I love the idea too. Keep in mind limits of flexibility, but nimbleness we're focusing on here. And this COVID shakeup has given you and many lawyers and many workers in the United States a gift, a really big gift. It has proven that many, although not all, legal services can be offered in remote settings. We've already seen that law work can be segmented and divided by specialty. This, in the future, will allow you to continue to be nimble in new ways. Now, you might decide there'll be a point in that discernment process, and you might say, I'm going to step away from the practice to stay home and raise my children. Or I might want to take a break from mental health, breathers. I might want to change direction and move into something completely different, start a business, teach, law school, business school, high school, kindergarten, all the same learning process. You might want to grow into something you can't even imagine sitting here. The shakeup in delivery has opened up more opportunities to move in and out of law, in and out of a variety of settings, to allow you to adapt and change and be nimble in ways that really weren't available to your parents. So it allows you also to create opportunities as you grow and you change. Now, you are all of here, God willing, a son or have been a daughter, a partner, a spouse, a parent, a friend, an advisor, a confidant. You are working and searching for the life that brings out the best in you. And you now have new opportunities in this changing world to adapt and be creative. So N, nimbleness, R stands for resilience. Along with nimbleness, you've already demonstrated resilience. Things will not go smoothly all the time. And I'm going to only speak about one aspect of resilience, and that's about mistakes. You are a great class, but you aren't perfect, okay? The question is how you handle the mistakes that you inevitably will make. I knew a lawyer who, in his second year as an associate at a big law firm, made a huge mistake. He forgot to file a notice of appeal on a litigation matter they had lost. Now, for our guests, this is known as res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. It's per se negligence. It's like finding a mouse in a Coke can. It's just obvious that he blew it. Now, you might think that the story ends with the lawyer getting fired, and it might have happened, but in this case, it didn't. He was, in fact, a great lawyer who made a mistake, or growing to be a great lawyer, albeit a big one, after steeling himself. You know that deep, that horrible sinking feeling you have in your office? You know what I'm talking about. You've all had it, right? Oh, my God. He steeled himself, and he went in and talked with his supervising lawyer. They together developed a strategy on how to deal with it. And they recognized there would be consequences, and they planned them out, and they accepted those consequences. And this young lawyer was judged much more heavily on how he handled the mistake, which is he handled it with competence and integrity, than the fact that he made a mistake. He made partner 7 years later. Now, this is the resilience you need to push forward, to learn and grow. You're going to accept you're not perfect. And when you confront those inevitable mistakes, keep in mind, even mistakes need to be handled with competence and integrity. Okay. Now, NRA stands for action. Let's go back to those opening bromides. Do good. Do good. 2 words. Pretty unsatisfying if we focus on the fact we do not have a universally accepted definition of the good. But it's deeply inspiring if you make it a gentle, daily commitment. Oh, isn't that a wonderful sound? I love to hear. So it brings such joy to my heart. Yeah, a sign. We need to emulate this child and embrace life. You weren't allowed to say that during law school and you were frustrated, but kudos for it. That do good. Now, it's deeply inspiring if you make it a gentle daily commitment. As a lawyer and a person, you can play a role in making the world just a little bit better, whether you're in the private sector or public sector. Those swirling forces when you started school that you push back to focus on law school can come back into the forefront of your mind. Now, you can't do everything. And the reality is that most of us will not be praised for doing great things, right? But I know that we can do something. And many of you have identified that something. Maybe your entire practice in the public sector. It might be an area for pro bono or law reform or political work or volunteerism. It might be kindness to another. The good. Shed the natural cynicism. I can't do everything, so I do nothing. Choose an idea, an issue, a small corner of the world, someone who needs help, and act, NRA, toward whatever you define as the good. So, I applaud you, the class of 2020, because the fact is, if you're going to forget the speech, it might as well be forget a short speech rather than a longer one, right? I applaud you, class of 2020, for being nimble, for being resilient, for acting in some way, large or small, to make the world a better place. You might belong to the other NRA, but this one of nimbleness, resilience, and acting in some small way to make a difference are the habits of a lifetime. Embrace them. So I say, you are fabulous. Parents, they are fabulous, I gotta tell you. We stand in awe of you. Thank you. We are now going to call the names of the graduates as they enter up on the stage, and then we'll have an opportunity to have a photo with the dean. And we would ask the parents, there's an official photographer here, so you'll have access to that. Thank you.
Molly Carg Agostinelli. Keshav Ahuja. Jacob Patrick Ascoli. Sean Atwood. Korash Azin. Matthew Bailey, cum laude. Harrison Holland Baker, cum laude. Ariel Borgendale, summa cum laude. Laura Burlow. Sarah Kapungan. Sarah Carlo Elkins, cum laude. Robin Suhu Casper. Maya Chirayel. Hannah Cohen, cum laude. Kevin Collins. Katerina Colon Cordero. Kevin Connolly. David Catrone. John Seraphine Craig. Ashley Cross. Milena Quadra Seas. Uleni Dumastias. Garrison Doodlesack. Christopher Michael Durham, magna cum laude. Tess Carolyn Edwards. Eric T. Emerson, summa cum laude. Caroline Enright, cum laude. Jonathan Fazzino. Sean Jason Fishkind, cum laude. Lucas Follett, magna cum laude. Jillian Friedman, summa cum laude. Kent Coleman Clayton Gay, magna cum laude. Madeline Herlihy Gearin. Benjamin O. Gilbert. Jonathan D. Gerard. Antonio Gonzalez. Cody S. Goodwin, cum laude. Haley Gordon, cum laude. McKenna Granger, cum laude. Attila Habib. Benjamin Haspel. Amanda Faye Hobson. Logan Hovey, magna cum laude. Micah Ibarosi Parnell. Haley Lynn Jenkins. Eric James Japil, summa cum laude. Martha Koroshetz. Milan Kumar. Anna Elise Lahamadou. Joyce Yoon Lee, magna cum laude. Michael Edward Leshen. Megan Paloma Annette Lester, cum laude. Brian John Mahoney II. Gina McCarrum. Lauren Elizabeth Minkowski. Mason Remington Marek. Petros George Markopoulos. Jennifer E. Mason. Spencer Allen Matthews, magna cum laude. Meredith Ann McCaffrey, cum laude. Audrey McQuaid. Eric Meyer, cum laude. Nikki Rebecca Montoya. Sarah Catherine Moore, cum laude. Sarah Jessica Murphy, cum laude. Albert No. Andrew Patton. Catherine Petrino, cum laude. Ashley Nicolela Petro. Jacqueline Price, cum laude. Rebecca Marion Rabinowitz, magna cum laude. Angita Rath. Rebecca Reindel, cum laude. Justin Reingold. Michaela Alexa Rice. Brooks Lilybridge Robinson. Joseph Louis Salvatore. Eric Sherman, cum laude. Emily Claire Smith. Audrey Sparshoe. Emily Rebecca Starr. Sue Kyung Sa. Roya Tabibi. Samuel D. Thomas, cum laude. Amber Ray Volz.
Michael Ibarossi Parnell.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah.
Samuel Witchman. Amelia Marinda Yomalakis. Erin E. York. Meg Ziegler, magna cum laude. Michael Ibarossi Parnell.
Well, how about a round of applause for the class of 2020? And it's now my pleasure to introduce your Law Students Association Vice President, Mason Marek.
Thank you, Dean Rougeau, for the introduction. It's an honor to share the stage with you, Dean Ring, Father Fred, and Professor Mcmurrow. When the news finally broke on March 11th, 2020, that we wouldn't be able to return to campus for the remainder of our time at Boston College Law School, I don't think any of us fully understood what the future would hold for us. I can explicitly recall talking with the former Law Student Association president, Tyler Hendricks, only a few weeks before about how it seemed for a moment that people weren't making such a big deal anymore about the novel coronavirus then circulating in our society. With the benefit of hindsight, I can more fully appreciate the magnitude of the upheaval that the pandemic has had on our lives on so many different levels. Some of the most vivid and haunting memories of those early days of the pandemic were when I would sit alone, reading for securities regulation for Dean Jones, and making it only a few pages further in between each passing of the ambulances and their wails as they would go by through the streets of Cambridge. I consider myself supremely lucky to have been able to escape to the relative safety of my hometown in Texas in late April to be with my family further away from Boston, where things were spreading rapidly. I know too many others have not been so fortunate. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. When the 3L committee held our class gift kickoff event earlier that same winter, Professor Hillinger spoke about how the real test, life in general, was going to be much harder than anything law school had thrown at us before. While Hillinger was, of course, right, as usual, looking back on the first few months of the pandemic, it's hard not to see similarities between the ways in which law school tested us and how the pandemic has challenged each of us. For those of you here today who are lucky enough to not have taken a law school exam yet, they can vary from professor to professor, but one of the most common ways is what's called an issue spotter. Law students will know that well. In essence, you're given a long, winding fact pattern and then asked a question or series of questions about the problems presented. While the actual question might be something like, is the contract enforceable, or has the defendant committed a battery, the secondary questions really being asked were things like, was the contract properly accepted, or was the contact caused harmful or offensive? The way I saw things, the main question of those early days was simply, will we be okay? But just like an issue spotter, then came the more challenging secondary questions. What kind of mask do I need to wear to avoid getting sick? How close is close contact? Will hydroxychloroquine actually work? And while many issue spotters do have right answers that astute legal reasoning can lead you to, sometimes the call is a little bit closer, and you just have to pick which side you think will succeed and formulate an answer using the facts available, solid logic, and all the law you can remember. While I didn't know the upheaval resulting from the pandemic would last this long or be this severe, I always believed firmly in our community's ability to emerge into this new normal more resilient and united than before. I believed in us because even in those moments after finding out we wouldn't be allowed back on campus before our graduation, I already knew that our community could be counted upon to help each other stay safe, stay sane, learn, grow, and ultimately heal from what was being visited upon us. I knew because it's the same community that helped me climb from some of the lowest points in my time at the law school to having the opportunity to stand before you today. Like I'm sure many of the students here today felt, law school doesn't go exactly as planned always. Sometimes our highest hopes are dashed against the razor-sharp rocks of reality. However, I know that our community was there to lift each of us up. Our esteemed faculty members were there to support us in all the different ways they could. As for myself, I remain eternally grateful to this day to Professor Mcmurrow, who saw fit to have me as her research assistant between our first and second years. Researching legal ethics under her tutelage taught me lessons far more valuable than simply what not to do as a practicing lawyer. Her compassion and resilience in the face of personal challenges left an indelible mark on my mind. For Professor Cassidy, when he dedicated nearly an entire session of evidence class to discussing attorney well-being and mental health, making us feel seen and heard. For the late Professor Alexis Anderson, who helped me to build a term-time externship in San Francisco that would have been perfectly suited for my interests. In her, I knew I had someone at my back who would support me in any way that she could. The legacy of her dedication to the students of BC Law carries on with me to this day. There were so many instances in which the faculty demonstrated to us that they were far more than just our teachers. They were and are our partners in growth as both young attorneys and human beings. As a compliment to our faculty, our community simply wouldn't have been what it is today without the law school staff. They dedicated each day helping us succeed in law school. We all remember when Dorita was there in the little cafe offering the best pep talks as we waited for our daily dose of caffeine. Heather, Jen, and the rest of the team in career services helped so many of us find internships and postgraduate jobs, even through the toughest of job markets. And for me, the financial aid office was there when my computer decided to give up in the middle of Professor Mcmurrow's class. But I believe that we owe the staff a great deal of gratitude for all of their efforts and for helping us along our journey. And of course, the beating heart of our community was each and every graduate of our class, even those unable to join us today. We commiserated with our friends through long hours in the library and celebrated when exams were over each semester. We were there to comfort each other when some among us got into accidents or lost parents or other loved ones. We stood up for each other in the face of those who sought to divide us. And in general, we helped each other to achieve new heights that we couldn't have achieved by our individual efforts alone. As a short personal aside, I will forever be grateful to the many of you who entrusted me with the responsibility of serving as your LSA Vice President. Thanks to your faith in me, I had the opportunity to be an actual agent of change for the school by doing things like helping to get new student groups started, serving on committees to further diversity at our school, and putting law student issues front and center before the university's provost. Without your support, I quite literally would not be standing where I am today, having the honor of addressing you. But that same communal spirit that helped me to run for the vice president in the first place is exactly why I knew we would be able to pass the test and emerge as a more resilient and united community. And with our family, friends, and other loved ones here today, we can see how our community continues to grow and become better connected. Each of us today here is a testament to that strength. As the years go by, the challenge will simply be to continue nurturing the community we've developed and welcoming all those who will come after us as well. We should be truly be proud to be part of such a wonderful community. We should be proud to be Boston College Law School graduates. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mason. I just want to point out for you that after the class of 2020 awards that were given out in May 2020 are listed in your program booklets. And after the benediction, please join us for a reception so that we can celebrate our wonderful class of 2020 graduates. Once more, please congratulate the class of 2020.
Please remain seated. Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, we thank you for this day. We ask you to bless us on our way. The members of the class of 2020 took their first professional steps along the path of justice at Boston College Law School, in the classroom, in oral advocacy programs, in clinical programs, in their work with law school journals and student organizations. Over the past year and a half, their steps have been multiplied. May their stride increase. May their work be marked by integrity. May their friendships flourish. May they always be mindful of your call to be of service to all, especially the poor and the marginalized. May they always be mindful that you have created them and all other people in your divine image and likeness. May they love their communities and their country and the people of all nations as you are the author of all creation. May they love their planet and be mindful that of all the billions of stars in each of the billions of galaxies that populate our known universe, you have asked us to be good stewards of just one small planet of just one small star. And may we, who are their families and friends and colleagues, be worthy collaborators with them in our mutual search for a world that is marked by mercy, compassion, and justice. And may their lives' journeys be touched by the spirit of your prophet Micah, that they do justice, that they love kindness, and that they walk humbly with you, their God. We ask you this in confidence, for you are the God who made us, you are the God who saves us, you are the God who sanctifies us each and every day. Amen.